Hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach podcast. And I am here with yet another high demand coach. We have with us today the one and only Charles Gerenser, who is partner at Relentless Venture Studio, focused on sales initiatives, new business acquisitions, and exits. He's also the founder of several current Relentless portfolio companies, including LinkedVaNow.com, a full-service managed LinkedIn lead generation system. He's also an accomplished expert in sales and marketing and has held executive and director positions at various media and technology companies, including Gannett, the McClatchy Company, and iHeartMedia. Charles graduated cum laude from the Anderson School of Business at the University of California, Riverside, and he's here with us today. Charles, welcome to the show. So excited to have you here. It's one thing to create $5 million in annual recurring revenue from nothing, but it's another thing altogether to do it over and over and over again. Tell me, what have you guys figured out at Relentless that's created so much success for you and the founders that you work with?
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me. Well, in terms of replicating success, let's just be clear. We don't always succeed. That is just the reality of entrepreneurship and the startup environment. I think that if there is something that entrepreneurs need to know going in is that they do need to stay true to their vision. They need to believe wholeheartedly in their path and in their product and the service they provide. But there is inevitably going to be a time where they might reach that inflection point where they just overshot the mark and it's time to cut bait and move on to the next project. So our recipe for success involves this constant state of evaluation, not letting complacency seep into the stack, be it on the development side, be it on the sales and marketing side, but there are always going to be opportunities for significant growth and development in the organization.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to me because most folks wouldn't necessarily connect the startup world and complacency, but I've had similar experiences as well. It's kind of this undertone that happens. What do you think causes complacency, especially in such a fast-moving environment?
I think if you're in an environment where you're selling a monthly subscription product, that's a big part of what we do at Relentless. Most of our platforms involve subscription-type services. And you're not seeing heavy churn. You're not losing customers at any type of level of an alarming rate. Then the sense is that the product, the service, the way it's delivered, the customer's use of that product, that everything is okay. And it's in that space that you find complacency. Why do we need to create a new modal for a particular industry? We don't necessarily need to do that. Let's just focus on, our initial core market and product that serves that market. And so success, meaning customer acquisition and low churn, can breed that complacency fairly easily. Necessity is the mother of invention, of course. And so necessity in the SaaS and monthly recurring revenue world comes from, oh gosh, we just had our biggest loss. We lost our biggest customer, or we've lost tons of customers in the Eastern Hemisphere for whatever reason. And why is that? And figuring that out. And it's those bumps in the road that actually are the innovation that oftentimes will advance the cause for a company.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's remarkable because a lot of folks would see, they just see the setback in that. But I think you're right in the sense that it is those setbacks and the learning is a key point there, the learning that we gain from that allows us to become better. And it's especially important early on. So a lot of investors will run, like there is no tomorrow, away from that first $5 million in revenue. Why is it that you guys find yourselves focusing there?
Well, earlier in my career, I worked for very large companies that were publicly traded, definitely very far away from the front line in terms of breaking into new markets and new revenue opportunities. And so later in my career, so for the better part of the last decade, I've had the opportunity through previous success to be able to be an early stage investor in companies. And the firm that I'm with, Relentless, I mean, that's basically been our space, is to work in this the primordial ooze, if you will, of business creation with entrepreneurs. And what we really love about it, as far as being investors, is that every single day we are coming across new and novel solutions for, in some cases, just massive global problems facing different industries, be it hospitality, automotive market, social media marketing and management, which is a big focus for us these days. There are just these massive problems in those industries, and there are these tinkerers, these entrepreneurs working at it every day to find the better way. And it is the better way that is exciting and motivated and is really sort of my engine for moving forward on a daily basis, the better way, finding that better way.
I love that you bring that up in my book when I'm talking about the early stage for founders. The defining question is, isn't there a better way? So
Right.
I genuinely couldn't agree more. I think it's so important. So, and it really is the fuel for founders. It's not just a bigger paycheck. It's not just a lot of these other things, although those are all great. It really is that better way. I love that. So on this path from startup to 5 million in annual recurring revenues, do you find from a sales perspective that there are distinct stages or distinct phases that are happening, or is it kind of one strategy and we just push and go?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes the fuel that funds new client acquisition is going to come in the form of some type of paid marketing, right? And be it digital ads, be it an aggressive affiliate marketing strategy. Oftentimes you'll find early success rather rapidly. And so the inflection point comes at when your cost per sale start to creep up, which they inevitably will, and understanding why that's happening. Is it an internal problem? Is your sales team unnecessarily protracting the sales cycle? Or is it something that you have less control over, like a platform like TikTok just summarily increasing your CPA, your cost per acquisition, because that's their business model, right? Is to get you hooked on low cost, high quality leads as early as possible so that you start pumping more budget. But are you keeping an eye on the KPIs like cost per acquisition and adjusting your campaigns accordingly? So companies can have real trouble. The 1 million is the toughest, right? The first million, but that 2 to 5, that oftentimes is even more difficult.
Wow. I love the use of KPIs in there and keeping an eye on it. You bring up a point which a lot of folks wrestle with in and outside of the software space, and that is just how much should it cost for acquisition? What is too much? When do we start getting concerned? When do we start making changes? How do you assess, okay, it's ticking up, but it's still the right thing for us to do? Or when is it time to start pivoting or complementing that approach?
I think, yeah, for an early stage startup, and again, most of our platforms at Relentless focus on software. So you have to get a handle on your lifetime value of a customer. How long are your customers hanging around? And at the beginning, when you're building your initial budgets, it's going to be a guess. And so one of the things you can do, you're not always going to be successful at this, particularly if you're really in a novel space where you have no complementary or competing software titles, but to try to understand the market. If you're going to compete against QuickBooks and you know that a QuickBooks customer lasts 3.5 years, then okay, we're new, people don't know us, maybe our LTV is half of that number. You have to have some basis for budgeting initially. And then as you close quarters every 3 months, are you taking a hard look at that LTV and how long are these customers lasting? And if they're not lasting as long as you thought they would, why aren't they? And if they're sticking around longer, are there other things you can sell these customers? Can you stack additional products and services in order to make that relationship, as we like to say in the tech world, more sticky?
Love it. The software industry, I feel like, has done a pretty remarkable job to where they've changed to almost exclusively be built on the SaaS, the SaaS model. Not exclusively, but it's a huge part, whereas 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was a much smaller fraction. How do you see other industries being able to benefit from adopting a similar approach?
Oh, I mean, everything you buy nowadays seems to be on a monthly subscription model. I mean, you can buy laundry detergent, right, on a monthly subscription model now. You can get almost all consumer packaged goods now on some type of recurring shipment. So in a lot of ways, the Amazons and the Walmart.coms have basically adapted the SaaS modeling by creating automated shipping and a recurring revenue model. And then services, if you're in the consulting and coaching space, I mean, the idea of being a ready utility to your clients speaks very specifically to that recurring model, that there's an ongoing relationship, ongoing retainer or consulting fee that's paid because you're going to be not only just a periodic asset to your client, but you're going to be somebody who is going to be potentially an on-demand resource if they need additional insights and direction.
It's so good. So good. I know from some of the research I was doing before the episode that you've got quite a history working on the platform LinkedIn in particular, and to what extent would you ascribe some of the success that you and the companies you've worked with to that platform, and how does it fit in your overall strategy?
Right. So I hopped on LinkedIn, on the platform around 2007. So quite a long time ago. And one of the things that is interesting when you study what LinkedIn is today versus what it was then, for one, now they're owned by Microsoft. So that's important to understand and know. I mean, certain titan of overall business out there. But it is a environment that has remained pure to the idea of doing business, career advancement, whereas other social channels, from Meta to TikTok to Snap and the like, they really are about sort of the general media, sort of distracting, the feed, the scrolling. LinkedIn is less so about that and more about doing really deliberate and career and business focused actions. And that's, in my opinion, a very pure environment and the ideal place to do business. So my company, Relentless, has always had an internal marketing division, a team of professionals focused on LinkedIn as a place to do business development and lead generation. And we've taken that internal SOP, and for the first time over the last year, we've made it a product and a service that we are offering to outsiders. And that actually is what Linked VA now is.
And there's a lot of different ways to use LinkedIn, particularly from a business development standpoint. What have you and your team found are some of the most, the kind of core strategies?
Yeah, so there's push and pull on the LinkedIn platform. If you are creating newsletters, posting regularly, just being a general good steward of your digital profile on that platform, you are pushing your content out to the masses and then hoping you get some relevance or go viral, particular post or particular piece of creative. In our methodology, we're using a pull strategy, and we do that by harnessing the power of the first connection network of the profile user. And we do that with direct messaging on the platform to new connections as we build the network, and then channel those relationships off of the LinkedIn platform into the native CRM or system that the profile owner has in place, and then create real opportunities and relationships through those series of actions.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Charles, we've covered a lot of ground. I'm wondering if we could kind of put a bow on some things here. There's a question that I asked all my guests. I'm going to fire it your way. What would you say is the biggest secret that you wish wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing you wish everybody watching or listening today knew?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. There's a saying that I like, and that is that a rising tide raises all ships. And I think people hear it. It might even resonate with them, but I don't think they always believe it. And the secret is, it is absolutely true. And it doesn't matter if that rising tide comes from your fiercest, maybe even hated competitor, or the rising tide comes from a major advancement in AI, which you may not think affects you, but ultimately it does. And so it's important to remain humble and understand that the rising tide doesn't just raise all ships, but it raises your ship. Wow. And so having the humility to take the data in, to understand that, and learn from it. And being just a good human, offer up advancements and continue to push the ball forward for others, because we all benefit when we all win.
Yeah, so true. There's this Greek proverb that says, "A society grows great when old men plant trees under whose shade they'll never sit." And it captures one of the purest versions of that same sentiment. And it's so important. It's so true. I think we have the benefit of society growing great and being able to sit under the shade of our trees. If we do this right, we do it long enough, you don't have to wait until the end of your career to really be able to contribute in that way. So it's a great reminder, great encouragement. Charles, there's some folks listening, and they're right there in the thick of it. They're in startup mode. They're thinking about using LinkedIn to generate more consistent business. How can they reach out to you? How can they find more out about the work that you guys do?
Yeah, so Scott, for your audience specifically, we actually have created really a free introductory service, which is my team at Linked VA Now will actually do a audit of your audience's individual LinkedIn profile. We will review 10 distinct aspects of their profile on LinkedIn and score it for them, and then provide them with a guide to LinkedIn profile optimization, totally free of charge, just something we like to do for folks. And then they can learn more about our service and our opportunity and see if it's right for them. And so we'll provide you with that unique link, which is basically linkedvanow.com/audit. And that will be something we will be able to provide here in the notes, and happy to provide that to your audience. And if you've been thinking about LinkedIn and you're worried that it might be a liability, you're probably right. And our team is adept at managing really thousands of profiles. And so we know the way, we go the way, and we're happy to show the way in this case.
Yeah. Awesome. Head on over linkedvanow.com/audit. Again, we'll get that in the show notes for you, so you can just click or tap there. Highly recommend that you check it out. It's fantastic. Thanks for offering that for our guest, Charles. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show. Just loved every bit of this, that the depth on the sales side of things, the practicality on the LinkedIn side of things is fantastic. So thanks for being on. For those of you watching, listening, you know that your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.